Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember to check out the premium list in the description below as well if you want to know how I'm navigating these markets. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, we are on the cusp, right, of another weekly close. And it's always interesting watching us go into the weekly close because a lot of times you get a decent amount of volatility. Something that may be worth watching as well is the fact that on the weekly time frame, we've we've basically been closing no lower than the 34.6k mark. Okay, so we've had a couple of weekly closes there. So this was at 34.6k. Obviously this one went up. It started the week there. And then this one also ended it at around 34.6, 34.7k. Right now we're at 33.4k. So in order to get back up to the level that we have had weekly closes at over the last 2 months, the price of Bitcoin would need to rally about 4% in the next 19 hours or so. Now, remember, I told you guys a couple months ago that Bitcoin was very likely entering a 3 to 6 month bear market. Okay, I said, hey guys, let's call it what it is. Bitcoin's in a bear market, likely a mini bear market, 3 to 6 months, probably similar to 2019 to some degree. But that you needed to get on board with the idea that, hey, this is not going to be a V-shaped recovery. And what's interesting is I still see people saying things like, oh, we're going to have a V-shaped recovery. And again, I'm like, well, even if it were to go up now, which I don't think we would have an immediate recovery to 60k, but even if it did, like that still doesn't look like a V, right? I mean, that would be like more like a U. So I'm like, all right, it's probably time to stop calling it a V-shaped recovery or something. I mean, like this is a V, right? This is a V. This is not looking like any type of V I've ever seen again. So let's not expect a V-shaped recovery. As we said back then, as we said when we fell down, I said I would not expect a V-shaped recovery. I think that the last 2 months of more or less sideways movement has proven the case. Okay, I think it's proven the case that we were overheated, that a summer lull in the market was needed, as we discussed, and we're essentially watching that play out. Another thing to consider too is that, you know, over the last several weeks, while we have been at these prices before, we are spending more and more time at these prices than we did in the past. I mean, if you look at, say, like daily closes, you can see that while we did test the current level a few times, they were mostly just wicks, okay? And we didn't really spend a whole lot of time there. As we're coming over here, we're spending more and more time at these levels. So if anything, we're in more of a downtrend right now than an uptrend, or say sideways. I mean, I think technically we could just say it's, to some degree, it is sideways because we've been at these levels before. I mean, if you go look at, say, like the 1 hour chart, it tells a slightly different story, right? I mean, you could just certainly make the case that we've more or less been range bound around 30 to 40k, with the midpoint perhaps around like 35k, and we spent a decent amount of time above that level and a decent amount of time below that level. And in the last say 2 to 3 weeks, most of that time has actually been below that level. But I do think that this is good for the market. I would expect the summer lull to continue. I don't envision any major breakouts back to 60k anytime soon. So do take that into consideration. And as we do look at our weekly close, we should note that with respect to the bull market support band, the 20-week SMA will continue to roll over, even more so now, because if we go back 20 weeks, we're going to be replacing prices way up here, in the 50k to 60k region, all the way down here with prices in the 30k region. So expect this 20-week SMA to really start to come down quickly now that we finally moved out of this region, and now we're going to be replacing bars up here with likely bars down here. Okay, so consider that. Remember, the 20-week SMA, the absolute value of it is somewhat irrelevant. What's more important is where is the spot price of Bitcoin with respect to it. So if the 20-week estimate comes down, then that makes it a little bit easier later on for Bitcoin to get back above it and hold it as support. So, yes, right now I would agree that the market has been, bearish for the last couple of months, as we said it likely would be. But I do think eventually we'll come out the other side. So just I would say remain diligent in your approach to the market and disciplined, and recognize that we're very likely going to be here for a little while before we are able to put in new all-time highs. Okay, as I've always said, the lengthening cycle model for Bitcoin makes the most sense, and if we're going to have these lengthened cycles, we're going to have we can have these many bear markets, just like we had one in 2019. We're having one now in 2021. Basically, we're having one in 2021 when most models would be predicting we should just be, continuing to just go up like crazy, heading towards $300,000. But again, we're about an order of magnitude off of those predictions. Let's bring it back down to earth for a while. Consolidate, okay? Best case scenario is we put in the bottom, right? Best case scenario is we put in the bottom. Obviously, a more pessimistic view would be to say, well, we're going to go down a little bit more before we trend back up. At the end of the day, no one fully knows. Obviously, I've told you guys what I think in terms of where I see the market headed. Generally speaking, for 2021, but I've also laid out clear that the lengthening cycle model that we talk about has us, moving up later on, and putting in new all-time highs and pushing, that $100,000 to $200,000 range, not necessarily in 2021, but very likely either in 2022 or 2023. So do consider that is a key possibility. Yes, it's possible that the fourth quarter brings back all bullishness back to Bitcoin, and it goes to six figures. And then puts its market cycle peak in by the end of the year. But I do think people should remain flexible, especially given the fact that we're down 50% from the all-time high. We've been trending sideways for a couple of months, and to some degree we're really falling off the ROI needed to keep pace with the last cycle, as we did suggest that we would. But if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember to check out the premium list. You can find that in the description below as well. And also click the bell icon to turn on your notifications. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.